Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
As Michael made the announcement, today is the anniversary of Sawaki Roshi's death. Actually, 50th anniversary. Sawaki Roshi died in 1965, December 21st. So actually, he died 49 years ago. But traditional way of calculation in Japan, somehow the second year, that means second anniversary in our common calculation, we have a third anniversary. I don't know why. I think I knew, but I forget why that thing happens. So this year in Japan, people, I don't know, celebrate is a good word. Celebrate someone's death is not, seems not right word, but do memorial ceremony for Sawaki Roshi this year, 50th memorial. Anyway, so I put Sawaki Roshi's photo. Actually, this is a photo of a painting. It's not a actual photo. Someone painted his portrait, and someone took the photo and stored at I think Myokoji Monastery in Kyushu, where Sawaki Roshi used to visit and taught. Anyway, Sawaki Roshi was a very interesting person. He was a very powerful teacher, and he traveled all over Japan until he was 83 years old by himself. He never traveled with jisha or attendant because of his problem on his legs. He had to stop traveling by himself when he was 83. Then he retired to Antaiji and stayed at Antaiji the rest of his life, I think 2 or 3 more years. And Okumura Roshi and Joshin-san, one of Sawaki Roshi's female disciples, and other young monks took care of Sawaki Roshi in his final days. And his life was very interesting. He lived in a family, but his parents died when he was very young, and he was adopted by a kind of interesting people. His stepfather was a gambler, and his mother was an ex-prostitute, and he didn't live, as a son of that kind of family. So he escaped from his step-parents and went to AH and became a monk. And he went to only elementary school, 4 years elementary school. But later, after he became older than 50, he became the professor of Okumura University. So he was a very he spent a very interesting life, very dramatic and very full of difficulties. In this book, the Zen teaching of Homeless Kodo. This is my new translation of the original book, published in Japanese. I wrote a short biography of Sawaki Roshi. So if you are interested in his life, please read part of this book. Anyway, I'd like to introduce one of Sawaki Roshi's saying and Okumura Roshi's comment today. That is a final section. This is a collection of Sawaki Roshi's short sayings selected by Okumura Roshi. And Okumura Roshi wrote a short comments on each of Sawaki Roshi's sayings. And that was articles at one of the major newspapers in Japan called Asahi Shimbun. Anyway, this final one was not in the original, but added when they made a new version or final version of this book when it published in 2006 from Japanese Buddhist publisher called Daiho Rinkaku. Anyway, the title of this section, so this is a collection of 72 sections. And the name of this section, 72, is Sawaki Roshi's Last Words. And his last word is, it's pointless. It's pointless for human beings merely to live a life that lasts 70 or 80 years. I think I talked about this saying during the last Genzoe, so probably some of you listened to what I said. But according to Uchiyama Roshi, this is final teaching of Sawaki Roshi to Uchiyama Roshi personally. So Uchiyama Roshi's comment on this saying is, Sawaki Roshi traveled alone to teach all over Japan until he was 83. But when his legs became weak, he retired to Antaiji in the afternoons. In the afternoons, so after he retired to Antaiji, in the afternoons, I served tea in his room. One day, he admonished me with the saying above. So this was his personal conversation between Sawaki Roshi and Uchiyama Roshi. At that time, I simply agreed, and our conversation moved to other topics. Looking back, I regret that I didn't hear more teachings on this point. That means, I think, when Sawaki Roshi said this saying, Uchiyama Roshi said that's a matter of course. He knew, he clearly understood what this means. But now, this was written, I think Uchiyama Roshi was around 70 or 72 or 3. And he continued, now I've retired from Antaiji. I begin to think that dying is the only practice remaining to me. When he was about 70 to 72 or 3 years old, we expect he was dying. He had a really serious problem with his body. So I think he also expected he was dying. And that was a time, last year we made the collection of Uchiyama Roshi's poem about life and death for the 10th anniversary. Around that time, this time, he wrote that collection of poems about life and death for his, as a kind of a preparation for his practice of dying. So I begin to think that dying is the only practice remaining to me. I have to straightforwardly face and tackle the matter of my own life and death. In this situation, I remember these words of Sawaki Roshi and think this must be the most important thing he left me, his final teaching. Then Uchiyama Roshi quote another saying by Sawaki Roshi, almost the same thing. Sawaki Roshi says, it's very unskillful to use this body of 5 feet only as a 5-foot body. It's foolish to live merely using up 50, 80, or 100 years of longevity. To practice the Buddha way is to become a person who will never die, who is not at all different from the Buddha, pervading the entire universe forever. So this is Sawaki Roshi's saying. And Uchamura should comment on this thing. Sawaki Roshi passed away on December 21st, 1965. When he was dying, he was peaceful. He's talking about the day Sawaki Roshi died. He was peaceful. He didn't leave any dying verse or will. Many Zen masters wrote verse or poems for dying. Actually, traditionally, some Zen masters, when they become old, on the New Year Day each year, wrote a death poem as a kind of a preparation for their dying. Sawaki Roshi never did such a thing. Sawaki Roshi never composed a poem. And he also never wrote a book. But the record of his teisho or lectures were transcribed and published, and that has about 20 volumes. Anyway, Uchamura Roshi continued, I still clearly remember how he was all that day. From morning until his death, I think he died in the late night, in the night. His death was calm and natural, like a tree falling. That's the only way I can describe it. He sometimes said, Sawaki Roshi sometimes said to Uchamura Roshi, when I die, call the Kyoto University Hospital and donate my body to them. After that, you can just drink sake. It's no use clumsily chanting sutras with your sad voices. I donated his body to the hospital and could of no other way to express my gratitude to my teacher, beside doing a 49-day session as his funeral. I completed that. I've been able to live until today without many troubles, because whenever I have difficulty, I remember my teacher's words, which live deep in my mind, and follow his teachings. His sayings are his legacy. This is Uchamura Roshi's comment on Sawaki Roshi's sayings, and I wrote my comments after this. Anyway, this is for, at least for Uchamura Roshi, this is Sawaki Roshi's final teaching. And as Sawaki Roshi asked to him, he donated, or Sawaki Roshi's body was donated to the hospital as a kind of material to study. And as Sawaki Roshi said, Uchamura Roshi didn't do funeral ceremonies. Actually, many of his disciples and students visited Antaiji, when he died, and they wanted to do the ceremony. But Uchamura Roshi didn't want to. So he said, if you want to do funeral ceremony, you can do it, but I leave this temple. So other people, quit it, discussing about funeral ceremony. So instead of ceremonies, Uchiyama Roshi did 49-day session. During this 49-day session, they sit 8 periods a day, not 14. So it was not so tight schedule. But I think 8 periods is kind of a length of sitting during kind of a usual session, including chanting, lecture, work period, and so on. Anyway, after that 49-day session, Uchiyama Roshi became the abbot of Antaiji, and he started the 5-day session with a schedule we are doing even today here. When Sawaki Roshi was alive, he had Sawaki Roshi led the session, and Sawaki Roshi's session is the same as other session at other temples, with chanting, oryoki meals, work period, and tea. But Uchiyama Roshi made a kind of a creation, his way of doing session. And as Sawaki Roshi is asked not to do ceremony, even at Antaiji, we had a memorial with the word observe memorial days of Sawaki Roshi on December 20th. This is also a Japanese tradition. We do the ceremony in the evening before the actual day, and another ceremony on that day. Anyway, at Antaiji we didn't chant anything. We just went to the Kaisando, what is Kaisando? The foundered hall, where Sawaki Roshi's statue and a name plate, called Ihai, is placed. And we just go with the hall and made 3 prostration and returned. That's all we did, without any chanting. And after that we had a party. Many of Sawaki Roshi's disciples and lay students visited Antaiji, so we had about 50, 60 people. That was very unusual. But we just eat and drink and talked about Sawaki Roshi. And that's why here we don't do ceremonies for Sawaki Roshi and Uchiyama Roshi. Actually, a few years after Sanshinji was established, I think we did, but not so many people were interested in that kind of ceremony, including myself. So I quit. So since then, we never had a memorial ceremony for Sawaki Roshi and Uchiyama Roshi. So even today, we don't have any ceremony, but I just put Sawaki Roshi's photo and talk about Sawaki Roshi. Anyway, last week we had Buddha's Enlightenment Day, and I talked about Buddha's teaching about the 5 skandhas. And I think that teaching of Buddha, Buddha said in Pali Nikaya that 5 skandhas are Mala. Well, Mala is 5 skandhas. 5 skandhas means our body and mind. And he also said, Buddha Shakyamuni said, 5 skandhas are empty. He didn't use the word empty or sunya or sunyata, but he said each of 5 skandhas form sensation, perception, formation, and consciousness are all void, hollow, and insubstantial. That is the same with empty. So 5 skandhas are matter, and 5 skandhas are empty. So when we see the emptiness of 5 skandhas, we are liberated from 5 or pancha upadana skandhas. That is matter. So to me, now I think what happened to Buddha when he attained awakening, he was liberated from 5 upadana. Upadana means clinging or attachment, 5 skandhas. That means he became free from himself, his own clinging to his own body and mind, 5 skandhas. So the difference is, 5 skandha or aggregate, and when these 5 skandhas function as mara, it is called upadana. 5 upadana skandhas. That means clinging or attachment. But when we see as Shakyamuni said, when we see the emptiness of each of 5 skandhas, then we are liberated from mara. That is what Buddha conquered mara means, I think. So upadana is taken out. Then we can put maybe upadana. Is same as anatman. Atman is a self, anatman means no self. So upadana means no upadana. Or as a Mahayana Buddhist, we can say shunya or shunyata, 5 or pancha shunyata skandha. And this is what the Heart Sutra says. When Avalokiteshvara, when practicing deeply the prajna paramita, clearly see the emptiness of 5 skandhas. 5 skandhas are empty, and thus relieve all self. So what Shakyamuni said in Parinikaya about the emptiness of 5 skandhas, and what the first sentence of the Heart Sutra said, is exactly the same thing. When we clinging to our 5 skandhas, that means when we cling to ourselves, our body and mind, then this body and mind is mara. But when we see the 5 skandhas are empty, and we are released from this upadana or clinging to our own body and mind, then we are released from suffering. Because suffering is caused by ignorance. That means these 5 skandhas are really there, and there is a self that is a owner and operator of these 5 skandhas. Then our life as samsara is created because of ignorance and greed towards something we want or we like, or hatred or anger toward something we don't want or we dislike. And we start to run after something we want and escape from something we don't want. That makes our life into samsara. We are always running, chasing after something or escaping from something. And sometimes we are successful and we feel like heavenly beings. And more often we are not successful and we feel like a hungry ghost. Always hungry, always want to get more. Or we feel like a head dweller when our life is really unsuccessful. And no condition last forever. So we have to always moving around. That is samsara. And so this samsara is not life after life, but within this lifetime, even moment by moment, we are transmigrating, and we are, always up and down within not only six realms, but more than six. It's, I think millions of different conditions, and we are always transmigrating. But if we see the emptiness of five skandhas, we are released from this clinging to five skandhas. Then we don't need to chase after or escaping from. That is where we can find a peacefulness or stability of our life. So, to me, we can summarize Buddha's teaching and also Mahayana teachings according to the Prajnaparamita Sutra or according to Nagarjuna's teaching. And to me, that is the same as Fat Dogen expressed when he said, Shinjin Datsurak, or dropping of body and mind. This body is first of five skandhas, that is rupa, our body, and other four is our mind. So five skandhas actually mean our body and mind, and dropping off body and means we are liberated from these five skandhas, body and mind. So Dogen's teaching and Mahayana teaching, such as in the Prajnaparamita or Nagarjuna's and Shakyamuni's teaching, at least about this point, five Upadana skandhas and five Shunyata skandhas, I think very clearly continued. To me, this is a thread which connect Shakyamuni's original teaching, Mahayana teaching, and Dogen's teaching or Zen teaching, and what Okumura Roshi and Sawaki Roshi taught. So when we cling to our body and mind, our five skandhas is called five Upadana skandhas, and that is Mara. And when we see Shunyata or emptiness of five skandhas, these five skandhas is called Avalokiteshvara. So here is a transformation between Mara to Avalokiteshvara. And according to Dogen, this transformation is done within our zazen, when we just sit. When we just sit and letting go of our thought, that is our thought is upadana. Those are created through our karma. Karma means our experiences since our birth, or even before our birth. And we cling to our thinking. Then we do certain things when we encounter with a certain object or situations. That is how our karmic consciousness works. But when we sit and letting go of this karmic consciousness, thought coming from or made by karmic consciousness, then we are free from karmic consciousness. This being free from or letting go of karmic consciousness is seeing emptiness of five skandhas. So when we are sitting, our body and mind, or our five skandhas, are five skandhas. We cannot, or we can grasp as me. That is what opening the hand of thought means. Then, within this zazen, five upadana skandhas is transformed as five shunyata skandhas. And according to Dogen's expression, that is what dropping of body and mind means. So our practice of Zazen is the foundation of this transformation. And when I read what Sawaki Roshi said, Sawaki Roshi said, in the first saying, which I'm Roshi quoted, it's pointless for human beings merely to live a life that lasts 7 or 80 years. This life that lasts only 70 or 80 years. Well, in the second saying of Sawaki Roshi, he says, it's very unskillful to use this body of 5 feet, in my case 6 feet, only as a 5-foot body. That is our body as a first skanda. And it's foolish to live merely using up 50, 80, or 100 years of longevity. We may live longer than 80 years, but not so many people live longer than 100. So this means our conditioned body and mind, and also conditioned life, which has some limitation. We are born at certain time, and we live for certain period of time, and we die certain time in the future. And this can be, several years or several decades. But anyway, sooner or later we die. But what Sawaki Roshi said, there is a way to live the life that lasts longer than 100 years. And I don't think he meant there's certain special kind of life which lasts more than 100 years. But what he's talking about is quality of life. So he said, to practice the Buddha way, is to become a person who will never die, who is not at all different from the Buddha pervading the entire universe forever. So what Sawaki Roshi is talking is not a relatively longer life than 80 or 100 years, but he's talking about quality of life. And he said, never die. Never die means never born. And that is what is said in the Heart Sutra, never without arising and perishing. That is what shunyata means. When we are shunya or empty, even when we are born, nothing is added to this universe. And even when we die, nothing is reduced. So actually, as a reality, as a dharma, nothing is born and nothing die. This is simply a process of transformation. When we say this as our life, not only these 5 skandhas last 80 or 100 years, but when we see this life without upadana, our life, our 5 skandhas are always changing. Something new are coming in as air, water, food, and things we study. And they are all go out. So these 5 skandhas, as Okumura Roshi said in opening the hand of thought, is like a flame of the candle, or the waterfall. It seems a certain form is continuous, but actually things are all changing, and each moment is new. And our life is the same. Our 5 skandhas is the same. Things are coming and going, constantly changing. So nothing is born and nothing dies. But when we see this process of transformation, and our life as a five skandhas is like a bubble. It's there, and yet it's not there. It's not born, and it's never die. When we see this never born and never die, never life as me, instead of this, 5 or 6 foot body and this self-centered mind. If we think this is me, then our life is conditioned and lasts only for a short while. But this process, if we think, this process of interconnectedness, coming and going and transforming and changing, this energy is ourselves, then we never die. I think that is what Buddha said. Buddha taught when we become liberated from upadana skandhas and see emptiness, then we'll have liberation. And also the Heart Sutra says, when we see the emptiness of 5 skandhas, we relieve all sufferings. And in our Zazen, as Dogen said, this Zazen is itself dropping of body and mind. This Zazen is a practice of liberation from clinging to our 5 skandhas. There's no way, when we sit facing the wall for many hours, there's no way we grasp this as me. Somehow, it's not possible. Even though thought, very self-centered thoughts are coming and going, but we don't grasp. It's not, to me, at least to me, it's not difficult. It's really difficult or impossible. I control my mind and choose this is right thinking. I love this thinking, so I keep them there, and I hate that kind of thinking, so I take them out. There's no such control is possible during sitting, especially when we sit long period like during session. Somehow, what only thing we can do is keep this posture and letting go. Then somehow thoughts are coming and going, whether this is a very self-centered thought or a selfless thought, or like thinking about compassion or Buddha's teaching or even emptiness. Those are thoughts, but we cannot really make choice. Somehow thoughts are almost automatically coming from our consciousness. And what we do is just keep sitting. Whether whatever thought coming and going, we cannot say, I like this thought and I hate that thought. That means, I think this is a complete negation of any kind of thought. And yet, this is embracing all thought, including this, negative thinking we hate. But somehow we cannot reject. So both all kind of thoughts are coming and going. This is how we are free from our upadana. I think that's the difference about the nature of our life, or quality of our life. Whether we live as a upadana skandhas or shunyata skandhas. And another book by Sawaki Roshi will be published soon. This is Sawaki Roshi's Teisho, transcription of Sawaki Roshi's Teisho on Shodoka. Shodoka is a song of enlightenment of the way. This is a long very beautiful Chinese poem made or composed by one of the disciples of sixth ancestor Huinan, whose name was Yoka Genkaku. He was a Tendai monk, used to be a Tendai monk. I think I talked about him, I think last Wednesday study group, Dharma study. Or about what the expression? Oh, impermanence is swift, and life and death is a vital matter. It's from his poem, and the book is Sawaki Roshi's teisho on this poem called Song of Enlightenment of the Way. And many years ago, that book, published in Japan, was translated into French. And the former abbot or teacher at Milwaukee Zen Center, Tonen Okana, translated the book from French to English. And it was planned to be published early this year, but somehow it delayed. And Tonen recently said the book will be published in January next year. That means next month. Anyway, at the last stage of making the book, Tonen asked me to check the translation. So I compared her English translation and original Japanese, and I found very thing different from what is said in Japanese. It's through French translation. So it's kind of very difficult to keep the same meaning or quality when translated from another foreign language. So I wonder if, English English translation of Okumura Roshi or Sawaki Roshi or Dogen's book is translated into other language. What may happen? Anyway, because I was asked by Tonen, I checked the translation, and I found there are many, to me, different difference or something, many things twisted. Anyway, but I found in that book, Sawaki Roshi often used the expression below zero. Can you understand what below zero means? I think it's kind of difficult for American people to what this below zero means. But in centigrade, below this 0 degree is a freezing point. So below zero means when water is frozen. That means ice. And above zero means when water is liquid. And I think this ice and water, for example, is used in Hakuin's Zazen Wasan about Buddha nature. When Buddha nature is frozen, it becomes kamic consciousness or delusion. But when it's melted, it becomes water and function as Buddha nature. This was not Hakuin's original idea or expression, but it came from Chinese Zen expression. Anyway, so when Sawaki Roshi said, we usually live as ice, and this ice and this upadana skandha is the same thing. We are frozen, become solid. Then we feel this is me, this is an individual thing, and we can count 1, 2, 3 pieces of ice. But when it becomes liquid, we cannot count. It's not accountable. That's the difference between below zero and above zero. And as an individual being, we are like ice. But as a life, we are like a water. My life and life as a bird or cat or plants or flowers are the same life. All different forms of life, living beings, actually is from one cell living beings. And that is the difference of each living beings, the difference of causes and conditions. So human beings and birds or cat are not so different. But as individual living beings, I am not a cat, and my cat is not me, and we are different. And that other life, we are the same. We follow based on the same principle of life, or as a being, as a life. That's the difference. And I think, what do I think? I forget.
It melted.
Yeah. As a human beings within a human world, if we live only as a life, we are individual, and if we live for just to fulfill our desire to be a powerful, famous, wealthy person, if we live, that is the only purpose of our life, then we are 100% ice. We are so self-centered, and we separate ourselves from other beings. But as a bodhisattva, not especially a Buddhist as a bodhisattva, but when we live together, when we see we live together with all beings, then it's about the zero. Our condition of life as a bodhisattva is there are still ice, but some part is like a water, and temperature go up and down around this stage. And so I think in our life we still have ice, but we also know we can live only within the relation with others. Without help or support from other beings, we cannot live even as an ego-centered person. So our life is a kind of a mixture of ice and water, egocentricity or individuality and interconnectedness, both. And our vow as a bodhisattva is to put emphasis more on the ice, not ice, the liquid, interconnectedness. But without taking care of these five skandhas, we cannot even work for others. So we have to take care of even the ice part of our life. So bodhisattva practice or life as a bodhisattva is to see both sides, and our direction is to live together with all beings. So we need to take care of the part, frozen part, and yet how can we use this even frozen part or our egocentricity to live together with all beings or other people. I think that is what bodhisattva practice or receiving bodhisattva precept and taking bodhisattva vow means. And that is how what Sawaki Roshi meant, I think, that to live only as ice is not so meaningful. But because our life is a mixture of ice and water, and yet we cannot live without relation with others, support from others. Then we try to help others, at least not to harm others. Is I think how Bodhisattva live, and how not Ujjamuchi, but Sawaki Roshi is saying. And another part of this book, Sawaki Roshi said, our life, or we are true self is connected. It's connected with entire universe. So I think that is a main point of Sawaki Roshi's teaching. And it came from Shakyamuni Buddha's teaching about 5 skandhas, and what is Mara, and what is Avalokiteshvara in Mahayana Buddhism. This is very kind of a simplified understanding of Buddhist teachings. Buddhist philosophy are much wider and lofty. But if we study all that kind of lofty tower of Buddhist philosophy, we don't really understand what Buddha taught and how we could live. But this kind of a simplified understanding, we can see clearly monks. When monks or priests finish monastic practice and return to their temples, they didn't encourage lay people to practice Zazen. So Zazen is practiced only within the monastery. But even in the monastery, around the early 20th century, when Sawaki Roshi was young, not many people practiced Zazen so much. And one of the kind of evidence Sawaki Roshi talked about, Zazen was not practiced so much even in the Sodo or monastery. Sawaki Roshi could not learn how to do kinhin. Kinhin is done between the period of Zazen.
So if you only sit one period, you don't need kinhin.
That might